You're watching Coin TV, Channel 6, Portland, Vancouver.
Billions of dollars in damage to crops, homes, and businesses. Will the Midwest get the help it needs as the rains fall and the Mississippi widens?
World leaders here in Japan promise more jobs back home, but victims of the trade game say it's almost impossible to hit the jackpot.
And the beating of a white man during the LA riots. Is the prosecution of black suspects fair, or is there a double standard?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather at the Economic Summit in Tokyo and Connie Chung in New York.
Good evening. It doesn't seem possible that the flooding in the Midwest could get much worse, but forecasters tonight are saying it will, because the rain is still falling and the Mississippi River still rising. The floods are now blamed for at least 15 deaths. Federal disaster officials today estimated crop damage alone at $1 billion. They promised what they call efficient and compassionate help. Flooding extends tonight from Winona, Minnesota, southward to Chester, Illinois. All along the way, the Mississippi is reaching record heights. Davenport, Iowa is 7 feet above flood stage. Quincy, Illinois, more than 15 feet above. And St. Louis is 8 feet over flood stage. The river expected to crest there next week. Correspondent Scott Pelley surveys the damage beginning in Davenport.
The Great Flood of '93 grew worse by the hour today as heavy rains forced the Mississippi deeper into cities and farms. In hard-hit Davenport, Iowa, more businesses are going under.
I'm not drawing an income. There's 3 other people that I can't pay, so, and that's just me. That's just one tiny little corner, times whatever there is in Davenport.
Davenport is completely unprotected, without a flood wall or a levee. Years ago, the city decided it wanted to maintain its access to the river and take a chance on the kind of flood that would be expected to come every 200 years or so. Time is running out all along the river as more levees wash away. Downriver in Mark Twain's hometown of Hannibal, Missouri,
46.5.
They're measuring the rising water that could break the 1973 record.
Predictions are at least equal, 73 probably, if not a little bit higher.
Hannibal is already flooding. Downriver, prison inmates are sandbagging miles of weakening levee. As you can see on both sides of the river for hundreds of miles, the earthen levee is only a few feet above the water. Every available volunteer has been used to push the levee higher, but the water is still rising and will continue to rise for days. From its computer center, the Army Corps of Engineers is trying to protect hundreds of dams and reservoirs that were designed to control the river. In Quincy, Illinois, old-timers say man's attempt to control the Mississippi only makes it worse.
The dikes and wing dams and, well, finally the dams. Finally the dams. That was it. That was the end of the river when they built the dams over 20 miles.
Much of what you see covered by water is farmland. Millions of acres have been inundated. And for many farmers, the disaster is complete. It is already too late in the year to dry out and start over. The surge is rolling towards St. Louis. Here, the flood wall is expected to hold. But even if it does, this flood is already destined to be the most costly in the history of the Mississippi. Scott Pelley, CBS News, on the Mississippi River.
Hurricane Calvin is thrashing around over western Mexico tonight, gradually weakening, but forecasters say the storm could move out over the water and regain strength in the next 24 hours. Calvin hit the coastline with winds up to 85 miles an hour and heavy rains. At least 28 people were killed and thousands have lost their homes. Dan?
Connie, President Clinton here in Tokyo has launched a massive campaign to convince Americans in the world that he has already scored a, quote, breakthrough. Some economists privately scoff at this, suggesting that it's more ballyhoo than breakthrough. But breakthrough is the president's story, and he's sticking with it. White House correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
The normally staid, formal summit got off to a bang-up start with a last-minute agreement on sweeping cuts in import duties on hundreds of products worldwide. A breakthrough in the trade talks, Mr. Clinton declared, and made an unusual appearance in the press room to proclaim it in person.
The breakthrough achieved today in the international trade talks is good news for America and good news for the world. It means more jobs and higher incomes for our people.
The White House claims, if approved as is, the agreement would create nearly 1.5 million more jobs. But over 100 countries have yet to sign on, and the biggest stumbling blocks to free trade, agriculture and textiles, remain stumbling blocks.
What I think we've seen today is a breakthrough only to the extent that we have now, for the first time, world government by soundbite. This agreement sounds very, very good to people who are only generally familiar with trade, but the actual growth stimulation that will cause is at best marginal.
Political concerns vied with economics on the table this afternoon. A communique out tomorrow will urge Arab nations to end their boycott against Israel, demand that Iran cease terrorism, and declare that the Serbs and Croats should not be allowed to dictate terms in Bosnia. It doesn't say who would stop them, a far cry from last year's strong threat of military force.
It's a far different situation now than it was last year. Situation is much more difficult to deal with now than it would have been last year or 2 years ago.
Sources say the leaders are acutely aware that last year's statement raised false hopes and stands as a reminder now that from trade to tyranny, follow-through has not been this group's strong suit. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Tokyo.
While talks on world trade may have inched forward a little bit today, direct talks between the United States and Japan are still definitely stuck. The U.S. wants a specific commitment for Japan to take more American exports. The Japanese say, in effect, forget it. That's not free trade. Money correspondent Ray Brady looks at one case in point in the high-stakes game at the Economic Summit.
If you're a slot machine maker, Japan's the jackpot. Jammed into these tiny, crowded islands are 2/3 of all the world's slot machines.
I would equate it as the largest market in the world.
And that's what made Bud Russell so mad. His company, International Game Technology, IGT, is America's biggest maker of gaming machines. But every time the company tried to sell machines in Japan, it was no dice.
It isn't tariffs or other obvious trade barriers that have been keeping slot machines and other products out of Japan. It's a thicket of rules, both spoken and unspoken, that wear businessmen down to the point where they simply give up trying to get into the country.
Still, look around U.S. casinos. The big competition comes from, you guessed it, machines made in Japan. They've got more than 1/5 of the market here in Nevada. But the Japanese admit getting into their country is tough.
I should say that to get in this country is tougher. There are a lot of people living in a small space, and they want to protect themselves.
For IGT, it took long, tough years of overcoming obstacles. Eventually, the company even had to call on the U.S. State Department for help cutting through bureaucratic red tape.
We played hardball. We purposely played hardball. We could not have lost this situation. Either we were going to get in, or they were going to have a tough time staying here.
Finally, success. Made to Japanese specs, the Vegas Girl, featuring a bikini-clad blonde. But no arms on these one-armed bandits. Space is too tight in Japan. 3,000 machines are being shipped now, 4 years after IGT first tried to enter the country.
One of President Clinton's aims at the Economic Summit will be to open more trade doors to Japan. But history and slot machines show that hitting that particular jackpot may not be easy. Ray Brady, CBS News, Reno, Nevada.
Straight ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, live from Japan and New York, the amazing streets of Tokyo, remarkably free of crime, but at what price?
And back in the States, parole pandering. United they stand, divided they may fall.
Flowers, check, balloons, we're all set. Okay,
Got it,
let's go,
let's go.
All across America, we've surprised people just like you.
Oh, no.
Is this a joke or what? People have heard about us.
No, man, I see this on TV.
But sure don't expect us to knock on their door.
On TV, yes, but I never thought it would happen to us.
We're the Prize Patrol from Publishers Clearinghouse, and we could make you a millionaire next month.
Red Devil Enamel. can always count on its durable finish. Harder than ordinary paints, its beauty lasts and lasts. Red Devil Enamel for the finish of a lifetime.
I used pressure-treated lumber, and I still have $800 in water damage. How come?
Even treated wood needs Thompson's Water Seal waterproofer. Without Thompson's, you're wide open for water damage. Thompson's. Don't wait until it's too late.
A new survey out tonight shows that Ross Perot's supporters are rejecting the two major parties and are forming a so-called radical middle in American politics. The poll was commissioned by Democratic friends of President Clinton, but the Republicans are hearing the thunder from the middle, too. Correspondent Linda Douglas has more.
Does everybody have a ballot?
In Roanoke, Virginia, members of Ross Perot's United We Stand are voting for district representatives. Vicki Kapp lists her credentials.
I've been delegate for the Republican Party several times, and
in growing numbers, Republicans are moving toward Ross Perot. Tom Blakely voted Republican most of his life, but now he belongs to United We Stand.
Mr. Perot has done a better job addressing the budget deficit and the debt issue than any party has done in my lifespan.
The Republican Party disagrees with Perot on many other economic issues, but that hasn't stopped Republican big shots from rushing to be seen with him. Senators join his news conference. Congressmen cling to his side. First-term Republicans ask to meet with him. And a House Republican leader has just paid the dues to join Perot's organization.
We are natural allies. We have similar interests.
Some Republicans accuse others of pandering to Perot because he's popular. And some, with presidential ambitions of their own, warn that a short-term alliance with Perot may prevent Republicans from developing their own message.
Once you legitimate Ross Perot, you are puffing him up. You're making him bigger. Sooner or later, you're going to have to delegitimize him, or he's going to run in your primaries.
Perot has expressed no interest in running for anything as a Republican or as a Democrat, yet.
I believe Ross Perot's goal is to win a major party nomination for president in 1996. He'd take either one. He's not particular, but the obvious target of opportunity is the Republicans.
Lately, Perot has been talking like a Republican, railing against welfare. But some Republican leaders are urging voters to remember that Perot has also called for big tax increases to reduce the deficit.
I think Perot's going to have difficulty selling his big tax ideas to the Republican Party.
Some Republicans can't resist joining forces with Perot because he is President Clinton's best-known critic. But Perot's supporters point out their real target is establishment Washington, and that includes both political parties. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Washington.
Stay with us for much more CBS Evening News live from Tokyo, including the great U.S. Pacific Fleet. How keeping the peace could lead to jobs and prosperity back home.
Every night during trout season, Ed Russell ties some of the best flies ever seen on Pinecrest Lake. But sometimes his arthritis pain can make it tough to sleep. That's when his wife Ann gives him Tylenol PM gel caps. Unlike ordinary pain relievers, it has extra strength Tylenol pain reliever, plus a gentle ingredient to help him sleep, which is good news for Ed, but not for the trout population of Pinecrest Lake. Tylenol PM, it puts arthritis pain to rest.
With its distinctive aerodynamic shape, anti-lock brakes, advanced engine technology, and roomy interior, the Honda Civic EX sedan is often admired by other car makers. Some we know, some we don't.
A family grows with care and with planning. With life insurance from the Farmers Insurance Group, your money can grow for later on. Life insurance can help protect your family now as well. Farmers Life Insurance. For safety today and security tomorrow. Farmers Insurance Group. For life.
If your doctors can't heal you, how far should you go to help yourself before you do anything for a cure? Watch 48 Hours tonight.
Back live now here in Tokyo, where the focus this week is, of course, the world economy. But another matter of great concern to leaders of the free world, and one directly tied to economic matters, is world security. And for President Clinton, one major issue is what role the U.S. military now should play, especially here in the Far East.
The pilots who patrol over the Pacific and Indian Ocean today are the third generation of Americans who have ruled the air and sea here. American dominance was established in World War II in conflicts like the Battle of Midway, turning point in the defeat of the Japanese. Today, in a rebuilt Japan, Uncle Sam looks a little threadbare on the economic front, but the U.S. military still has a powerful hold here. At the Yokosuka Navy Base outside Tokyo, home of the U.S. 7th Fleet, Vice Admiral Tim Wright underscores the connection between military and economic power.
Our military presence here is important to us economically.
And we do a lot of trade in this part of the world.
Absolutely. 36% of our overseas trade is with the Asia-Pacific region. Over 30% of our exports are to the market out here, and that is growing as we speak.
But in recessionary times, the future shape and size of the American military is uncertain. The end of the Cold War is challenging old assumptions about our presence in the Pacific. I asked the U.S. ambassador to Japan whether the new shape of the world, without an immediate Russian threat, poses new concerns.
The most immediate change, of course, is the danger that the North Koreans are making a bid for nuclear weapons status. That, of course, has caused apprehension here as it has elsewhere. Particularly here, I suppose, because the North Koreans have also experimented with missiles that can hit western Japan, and shortly will be able to hit other parts of this country. China has been growing very rapidly, and therefore there's uncertainty about how the accumulated power of China will be used.
Inside the Command Information Center on a cruiser at Yokosuka Navy Base, young Americans keep track of potential intruders in the skies over Japan and the entire Western Pacific.
So there's quite a few countries here in the Pacific which have the capability to fire missiles, and
the Chinese Navy has
the Chinese Navy has the capability. The Korean Navy has the capability.
North and south.
North and south.
Up top, you can see the cells that hold Tomahawk missiles of the Mobile Bay.
The advantage of the system is we can put a lot more missiles in the same small space.
Across from the cruiser Mobile Bay lie the first-rate ships and modern submarines of the Japanese Navy. Japan has the third largest defense budget in the world, but that is still only a fraction of what the U.S. spends.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of walking the deck of a powerful aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy, but there is increasing debate about whether these floating cities may be obsolete in an era of guided missiles, electronic, and satellite warfare. The outcome of that debate will tell us much about the future of U.S. security and how big your tax bill will be.
Can America, should America, be the policeman of the Pacific, or is it a more difficult question than that?
I hear it often said in our country, perhaps you do, well, we're spending a lot of money over there protecting the Japanese. Is that basically what we're doing, what you're doing here?
Well, certainly our presence here adds to the security of the Japanese country. However, because we are here as the honest broker, as it said, we do intend to remain engaged in this region for our own good as well as theirs.
And this coming weekend, President Clinton will make a possibly risky demonstration of what he says is the absolute U.S. commitment to freedom in the Far East. He will become the first U.S. president to visit the Korean truce village of Panmunjom, putting himself in the gun sights of North Korean soldiers. Connie?
Dan, still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, the other videotaped beating in Los Angeles. Is California justice colorblind?
You're unbelievable. You're so unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
In a recent study of couples, social scientists found that a full 50% prefer a squeeze to a pat. Of those who prefer a pat, 35% still like an occasional squeeze. Thus, we suggest Squeezable I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. The only squeezable spread flavored with sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol to spoil the romance. So give your special someone a good, healthy squeeze. I can't believe it's not butter. The taste you love without the cholesterol.
Orchard Crisps? Where are my Harvest Crisps?
Relax, Reg. They're still here. Orchard Crisps are new.
With whole grains and the taste of real fruit baked in. Apple cinnamon.
Banana walnut.
And low fat. I'm speechless.
For once.
I love them.
Tonight's forecast, freezer burn. You need Ziploc brand freezer bags. Only Ziploc has the gripper zipper. Tough, tiny teeth you can feel gripping. Locks freshness in, freezer burn out. I'm freezing my rump roast. Ziploc has the lock on freshness.
That food sure looks good, but is it healthy? How to figure out what's in the food you buy. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
In a Los Angeles courtroom today, another sequel to the beating of Rodney King and the worst civil unrest in recent American history. As Bill Whitaker reports, the ongoing story of race, violence, and videotape has at least one more twist to turn.
It's that other videotaped L.A. beating. Reginald Denny, victim of the violence that erupted after the first Rodney King verdict. Today, in pre-trial hearings, the three young black men accused of the beating, Damian Williams, Antoine Miller, and Henry Watson, claim they are victims of discrimination, scapegoats for the riots. The defense claims it's all politically motivated. Former police chief Daryl Gates personally arrested Damian Williams. Bail set so high they've been locked up for more than a year. And most of all, they claim they're grossly overcharged with attempted murder, aggravated mayhem, and at one time even torture. Far harsher charges than the policeman got for the King beating.
White people are never charged by the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office with aggravated mayhem or torture where they brutally beat other people up.
But the judge said he will not allow the defense to rehash the King case or have the full hearing on discrimination it wants.
I found that the King case is not comparable. Therefore, it's not relevant to these proceedings.
Still, many agree there is discrimination in the L.A. criminal justice system.
To have almost no black judges when we have 1 million blacks is an absurdity.
No justice, no peace.
And this trial has become a rallying point for many who are angry about what they call a two-tiered justice system.
No justice, no peace.
But what about the videotape?
In your heart, look at that video and see if Denny deserved what happened to him. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, yellow, red, or whatever. You'd be hard-pressed to say he deserved that because the system is racist.
Defense attorneys say they'll appeal all the way to the Supreme Court to prove that it's their clients who are being abused now by the system. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Coming up next on tonight's CBS Evening News from Tokyo, we will show you how and why Japan maintains one of the lowest crime rates in the world.
Denture wearers, here's Jane Powell for Polident.
Worried about denture odor? You'll love new Mintier Double Action Polident. A new Mintier Double Action tablet that fights tough stains and controls denture odor. Try new Double Action Polident.
When we surprised Diane Malcolm April 15th, she didn't believe us.
You just won $1 million.
I'd be a kiss.
But the rest of the family was easier to convince. We're the Prize Patrol from Publishers Clearinghouse, ready to surprise you next month.
Some nights, my husband Ben is out there for hours, in spite of his minor arthritis pain. When he has a flare-up, he takes Advil. For minor arthritis pain, doctors recommend Advil most. And Advil's gentler on his stomach than aspirin. He says Advil lets him get back to doing what he loves. And without the pain, he sleeps better. Says he wakes up feeling ready for another day. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
The Cadillac DeVille has the safety answers, an anti-lock braking system, advanced airbag technology, and a 200 horsepower V8. DeVille also has the financial answers. Now you can receive a $3,000 special bonus from Cadillac when you purchase a new 1993 DeVille. Selection continues to diminish, so see your Cadillac dealer soon. Because a $3,000 bonus on the Cadillac DeVille makes a safe investment even safer.
Now Hart's long-term flea and tick protection is not just for white-collar dogs and cats.
Hart's Yummies?
The famous Hart's 2-in-1 flea and tick-killing collars now come in fabulous colors. So every dog and cat can feel comfortable with the powerful benefits of Hart's 2-in-1 protection. Protection that works for up to 5 months, wet or dry. Pets are jumping for joy wearing their 2-in-1 colored collars. Just ask any flea or tick. These are drop-dead colors.
Here in Tokyo, there was a reminder of why 36,000 police are guarding the summit conference. 5 small rockets were fired at the U.S. military base right on the outskirts of the city, apparently by self-described radicals who oppose Japan's alliance with the West. No damage or injuries. The Japanese are sticklers for authority and security, and that helps keep their streets relatively safe here 24 hours a day. But as correspondent James Hattori reports, it also creates some dangers.
It's a symbol of social order in Japan, the koban, or police box, neighborhood cops who get suspicious at anything or anyone out of the ordinary.
The criminals is discouraged by the presence of police officers on the street.
Maybe more discouraged by what happens after they're arrested. It's a lesson some Americans living in Japan have learned.
What they have said was that I looked very suspicious.
Maureen Shaughnessy says she was treated like a criminal when Tokyo police nabbed her for riding a borrowed bicycle.
You know, I just couldn't convince them. And then they said that I had stolen the bicycle.
She was eventually cleared after signing an apology. There was no happy ending for Donald Wilson, who claims he was brutalized while in police custody after being arrested on drug charges.
He was beaten his neck and head. He says he's still suffering from the symptoms even now.
The Wilson case is symptomatic of what human rights advocates describe as Japan's dirty little secret. Japanese law lets prosecutors detain suspects up to 23 days for interrogation. Police often use that time, critics charge, to intimidate suspects into confessing.
They're actually sometimes beaten on, kept for 12 to 14 hours without any food or bathroom privileges.
After studying jails and courts in other countries, the Tokyo Bar Association calls Japan's system the worst among Western nations, determined to hand out punishment, but not necessarily justice.
What is the conviction rate of criminals in Japan?
It's over 99%.
Police officials insist there is no systematic denial of rights here. The real reason crime is rare, they argue, is that the Japanese are simply very law-abiding.
I think if you look at the Japanese, their preference is security and harmony.
Security and harmony at a cost of some personal liberty from a Western point of view, but it's a trade-off the Japanese accept because it works. James Hattori, CBS News, Tokyo.
And that's part of our world tonight. Coming up later on this CBS station, 48 hours tonight, the story of Americans breaking with tradition and turning to alternative medical treatments. A lot of interesting stuff in this 48 hours. Anything for a cure. Tonight at 10, 9 Central Time. And I'll see you again tomorrow from here in Tokyo. Good night, Connie.
Good night, Dan, and good night, everyone.